Hello everyone, welcome to the mobile arena. The app that I'll be reviewing today is Lazors, which is out on Android and iOS. For the sake of convenience, I'm going to be reviewing it on my Nexus 7, which is Android. The first thing you'll be greeted with is a list of all of the levels here, and when you first play, they'll be all gray colored because whenever they're white, it means that you have completed the level. You'll start off with a tutorial, and there's not much settings for this, which I'll explain later. And what the tutorial does is basically give you an idea of how to play the game. There are cubes that you move around, and there's also a laser that is shown. And in order to beat the game, you have to move the cube on the different block shapes, so then it goes through the target that is required to pass the level. Now, as you can see, this idea is actually very simple and very easy, but the key to this is that as the levels get harder and harder, right now you can see there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 different places you can put 3 blocks, but as the levels increase, there are more and more, which make it harder and harder to complete the levels. Now, next we have friendly, which is a bit harder. As you can see, there's more blocks, more areas that you can put it, so the levels become a bit harder, and there's a bit more variations for you to win. Nonetheless, if you are fast enough and can visualize it enough, then you should have no problem beating the levels. There are also different targets that you have to do, and with all these targets, it makes it even harder just to shoot through all of them. For vertices, there are solid cubes that you can't move around, and there's still a target there, whereas before the cubes were all movable. And as you can see, for the graphics, you can see that there's an animation there, even though it's very subtle. For tricky, we start having this cube, which is the clear cube, and what the clear cube does is that when you use it, it both reflects the angle and it also allows the beam to pass through. So in a way, by using this cube, it allows you to use 2 lasers instead of 1, such as so. For braid, we're starting to have 2 lasers and more targets, which also make it a bit more complicated. There's also very subtle sounds to the game as well, which can be heard if I talk a bit less. And braid also uses that name because in a way there's a bit of braid type, such as this looks like a shoelace, sort of a blade type of laser paths. Now, mad becomes a bit more tricky and a bit more with a lot of different and complicated paths. For example, for this one, the problem with this one is that this cube, it makes it so that it goes through all of them except for one, and if you move it, the other one doesn't have it. So for this one, there's actually a different placement for the cubes, which is hard to visualize at first, and it takes time to realize. I think by now you have got an idea of how the game is played. There are a lot of more levels, as you can see, that is titled such as diagonal. As you can see, there's so many targets, and yet they expect you to be able to do it. like so. And the dark room, and the last few is the crystal, which has a very unique way of moving the beam. And we have prismatic, and we have diamond, which is all using the new cube here. For this cube, it gives a more unique kind of reflection where instead of it bouncing off directly off here, it goes through and travels in a straight line like so. Overall, I would rate this game as a fun game, but also a bit annoying. For this level, it's named Mad. It's actually pretty infuriating because it's very hard to solve, and I think it would be a good suggestion to maybe put some counters on how many times you can move the blocks, so that you don't have to. There's more challenges instead of just plain moving and this plain interface with nothing else much. Last but not least, every time you complete a level, they give you more hints to use for the game, and every time you use a hint like so, it will show you that you can put the block there, and it will tell you. Stay tuned for solutions for all of the levels up to, I think I have up to crossed. And thanks for watching. I will see you next time.